A win up for grabs. The Vikings couldn't seal the deal, falling short to the Rams 30-23. The playoff picture gets more muddy now, and we'll discuss that here on Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Miller Lite. I'm Tatum Everett here inside TCO Studios, and coming up in today's show, we'll hear from Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer, break down the film with Gopher great Ron Johnson, plus we'll hear from the guys back at US Bank Stadium in between the lines. But first, let's bring in our analyst, Ron Johnson. Ron, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Unfortunately, not the gift we all wanted to get today.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you as well. And you're right. Like, everybody got their gifts yesterday, and the Vikings, just didn't have enough extra gifts left over for the fans today.
It is the 14th one-score possession game of the season, matching the NFL record. It just kind of felt like, still, to the end, they gave themselves a chance. There were several missed opportunities, another game where you couldn't convert.
Yeah, and this is a team where, we said this in a pregame show, you look at Kirk Cousins. At one point, he was the #1 quarterback in the NFL in the first 7 to 8 minutes of every game. The last 2 games, he kind of came back to the pack, and now Matthew Stafford was the #2 quarterback to start games. And so when you have 2 of the top quarterbacks, #2 and #3, coming in, it's whoever starts off fastest. And Matthew Stafford found a way. The Vikings could not score any points early, and it hurt them in the end.
And as you can see, this loss has bumped the Vikings out of that #7 playoff spot. The Eagles will take that over for the time being with an 8-7 record. The Vikings now back under 500 at 7-8. The Saints at 7-7, but they have that Monday night game against the Dolphins. The playoff chances, it's a lot harder from here on out, Ron.
Yeah, and honestly, you just have to win. 9-8 probably get you in the playoffs. I think the Washington football team is out. I think the Falcons are out. It's between the Saints, Eagles, and Vikings, and that's going to be the key. You don't want to have to hope the 49ers lose their next 2. You don't want to hope for it. Just go win these next 2, and that's the key. But if they can't beat the Packers, then the season's pretty much over.
Man, that just really, it hurts. It hurts hearing that, Ron. It really does. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that game coming up later on in the show. But first, let's talk about this Rams contest. Barr and the defense really carrying the team today. We'll also discuss Justin Jefferson making history yet again. And finally, Dalvin's absence today and how Aaron Donald and that Rams front contributed to the lackluster run game. But before we get to those, let's see the game highlights. We'll start things off in the first as the Rams put together a 10-play opening drive. Sonny Michel scores a touchdown to make it a 7-0 lead.
Yeah, and that just goes to show they did enough to get down there, and it was a bend but don't break, but finally the Vikings broke early.
Yeah, but Stafford wasn't perfect, that's for sure. He's pressured there, and Anthony Barr comes up with his first interception of the day that would lead to a 23-yard Greg Joseph field goal, despite great field position.
Yeah, Stafford was nervous the whole game. You think about the Vikings, 10 sacks on him in 2018, 7 sacks on him in 2015. He knows what Mike Zimmer's defense can do.
And here's the Rams are up 13-3 in the third when Barr comes up with another interception. And again, great field position.
Yeah, it was Johnny Apple Barr on the spot. It was just the way he played today showed why Zimmer wanted him back.
That would lead to Alexander Madison's touchdown of the day. Things would be 13-10 Rams at that point. Vikings still in this one. But the wind out of the sails when you have something like this happen. Brandon Powell, a punt return for a touchdown to take a 20-10 lead.
Yeah, and that's just the gunner. You've got to slow your feet down and wait. He ran past the punt returner, and that was the death kiss.
And then this play right here, Ron, is something that you had your eyes on.
Yeah, like they blew the whistle way too soon. He's going forward, so there's no reason to blow the whistle that close to being out of bounds. That was an inadvertent whistle that should not have happened. The refs have been awful all season.
Well, and that was unfortunate because it would eventually lead to Matthew Stafford connecting with Odell Beckham Jr. in the end zone to make it 27-13.
Yeah, and then, of course, LSU grad, he does the gritty as well, so it just sucks to see it.
He saw his record broken, I guess. I don't know. Crocodile tears, right? Although this was a great play here. Kirk Cousins to KJ Osborne to make it a one-score game yet again, 27-20. The field goal would make it another close game. They tried to get the ball back on the onside kick, but the Rams would go on to get the ball and go on to win 30-23. And as I hear right now, we've got Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer at the podium after the game.
All right, disappointing loss. We talked all week about controlling the game with our tempo and our being able to run the football. They ran the ball way better than we did today. We had some guys get out of their alignments and gaps and things like that. So it was difficult in the run game. Didn't do a good enough job there. They early in the first half offensively, I thought we weren't good enough. We had 3 turnovers and ended up getting 10 points out of those. And then defensively in the second half, we gave up a couple big plays that end up getting scores for them. So get back to work and keep fighting.
Mike, was Sean Mannion testing positive or being moved onto the COVID list this morning? Was that a random test or was he showing symptoms?
He was sick.
Mike, your defenses traditionally can stop the run. What's the issue? Was it just more lining up or was it tackling?
No, I didn't think it was tackling necessarily. They have a unique scheme where they use the receiver, the extra guy that's over there to kind of go, and our guys were jumping out at them instead of playing what they were supposed to play, and so they end up getting some big gashes in there.
You feel it was a lost opportunity? I mean, it's not often. You pick off Matthew Stafford 3 times, but you weren't able to take full advantage of it.
Yeah.
Is it tougher where it kind of feels like the opposite of complementary football when the defense, tries to set up the offense, it doesn't really work, and I guess vice versa at the end?
Yeah, I don't know if that's. I mean, typically when you get touchdowns, you want to score. When you get interceptions and turnovers, you want to score. And I don't know if that's complementary football or not, but it wasn't good enough today.
Mike, when your running game early, it looked good. Do you feel like you went away from it, or you just weren't executing it well?
Well, I think there were some times when we got, it's 2nd and 12, and I think the one time was 2nd and 15 coming off the goal line or something like that. And this team, you can't be behind the chains, and I felt like we were a lot today, especially in the first half.
Mike, what did you see on the fumble where they said forward progress?
Well, I told them, they let these guys get in these piles and they run forever. They never blow the whistle, and all of a sudden we got a one-on-one thing there, and they're going to say it's blown dead. They did tell me the replay said the ball came out and touched a player that was out of bounds, so I don't know if he was or not. But
did they not review it because did they blow a whistle there? Or?
Yeah, it was a non-reviewable play.
How serious did Adam Thielen re-injure his ankle, and it's just going to hamper him going forward?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mike, you had momentum when it was a 3-point game, and then the offense goes 3 and out. They get the punt return. This team does not seem to be able to keep momentum. Has that been an issue all year long, or is it just short of day?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously the punt return was a big play in the game, and so.
Mike Ripper's dealing with that rib injury this week. Did you think that affected his throwing at all today?
He said he was fine.
How do you kind of look at the playoff race now? How frustrating is it that?
And just looking at one game. The next one. Good.
You heard Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer talk about complementary football. Well, 66 yards to 159 in the rushing department doesn't look great, although you do see the time of possession equal, and you win the turnover margin.
Yeah, it's a perplexing game. You were without Dalvin Cook. You knew you had to throw the ball, but I wish they had done more quick passes as an extended handoff versus trying to put Kirk Cousins in tough situations with Aaron Donald out there and Von Miller.
Yeah, 30-23, the final score. Vikings fall to the Rams. But a great day for Anthony Barr, who came out with 2 interceptions. Xavier Woods getting the 3rd one, if I'm not mistaken. And this is actually the 5th time this season the Vikings lose while winning the turnover battle. Crazy.
That's what Mike Zimmer said, complimentary football. It's like it's so hard to do the right things and look in the stat sheet, time of possession 30 for 30, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, they just couldn't get it done.
And Barr's interceptions put the team in great positions or in field positions, yet the sudden change has been a problem really for this team this entire season.
Yeah, and for Anthony Barr, that's being in the right spot at the right time. You think about what happens to some linebackers when they're floating in space and they have no idea where to go. Anthony Barr played the quarterback's eyes on both passes perfectly. And then when you look at, like you said, the turnovers and not doing anything with them, that's got to be on the offensive coordinator. Like, you've got to come out with some kind of quick change play to make sure you put points on the board.
Let's check out Anthony Barr's interceptions, Ron.
Yeah, here you just see he's bluffing up in there, and as Matthew Stafford gets nervous because he almost gets sacked, his thought is, I just want to get it to the guy I know should be in the flat, but he can't see Anthony Barr, and Anthony Barr makes a great play with his hands.
Yeah, it's almost like he should have just fallen.
But that's the old Stafford with the Lions. He's always done that. He's always panicked, and he holds the ball too long sometimes versus throwing the ball out of bounds. He throws it to the wrong person. And here you're just going to see Mike Zimmer, he needs to do more of this. 7 men up, but then it ends up being a 3-man rush. Again, Anthony Barr spying the quarterback's eyes. He takes him right to the pass lane. Great hands up, because at any time a lineman knows I can't get there, I got to get my hands up. And then again, Anthony Barr, Johnny on the spot, makes the catch. I wish you'd have gotten the end zone. And the time before that, he jumps up quick enough, he's in the end zone, and then we don't have to worry about the 3 points.
Yes, right place, right time for them. But here you go. Stafford was 21 of 37, 197 yards, and those 3 interceptions. Not a great day for Stafford. Almost keeping the Vikings in this one. Unfortunately, he did just enough there in those final 2 quarters.
Yeah, he looked a little bit like Odell Beckham's old quarterback, Baker Mayfield. I mean, again, but we know what Stafford is. He can hurt you, and he can hurt himself, and that's the kind of guy he is. It's a double-edged sword, and today was one of those days where it hurt him, but the team still was able to come out with a win.
It was a slow start for Cooper Kupp, but he ends the day with 10 receptions, 109 yards. The guy's been setting records in the slot all season long, and to see him only limited to 109 yards is, great, no scores. But at the end of the day, he converted on several first downs, I think, that were key for this defense to try and stop.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, 75 first downs coming into this game, number 1 in the NFL. In the red zone, 31 targets first, 21 receptions first, 170 yards first, 11 touchdowns first, and 15 first downs in the red zone first. So you have to keep your eyes on Cooper Kupp. But you're right, 109 yards, it could have been a lot worse on 10 catches. But I think that the key at the end was the Odell Beckham one-on-one with Cam Dantzler. I think anybody would take that matchup any day of the week. And Dantzler was playing in a technique that wasn't ideal for that situation with Odell Beckham.
Let's move on to another receiver that is breaking records this season, and that is Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson, who now has the most receiving yards for a player in his first 2 seasons. And granted, there are still 2 games left to play this year, and he didn't start for the first couple of games last season. So he's just been continuously setting numbers, last week breaking Randy Moss's 2-season record in front of Randy Moss. Tonight, beating OBJ's in front of OBJ. So despite the loss, it was a cool moment for sure.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson's having a storybook 2 years. I mean, you think about Randy Moss, Chris Carter, all the people that are talking about. LeBron James tweeted about him. But at the end of the day, it's your school. LSU is wide receiver you right now. You look at Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham. You got Jamar Chase, who's killing the league right now. And then Justin Jefferson. I think they were in the same receiving room at the same time. I mean, it just goes to show what LSU has been doing. And so that's why Justin Jefferson is just so good, is because everybody assumes he's a veteran the way he plays on the field, but he just has a veteran mindset.
And here is the catch that broke the record right here, Ron.
Yeah, and I feel like there were other moments he could have broken a long time ago.
For sure.
But yeah, it's just a basic in-cutting route, and that's Justin Jefferson's, like, here's my record. It's nothing great, but that just shows that's what he's been. Like, he hasn't been like a super, like, it's all been flashy great. It's been hard work, grinding, catch after catch, play after play. And then again, he gets the handshake from Odell Beckham. Now, if you remember, last time they had a handshake on the field like that when he was at LSU, there was some money exchange before the NIL.
Come on, Ron. You gotta bring that up, don't you?
So I wonder if Odell Beckham said, hey, man, I need that money back because now you're rich, too. So.
Yeah, now you've made some money for yourself here in the NFL. 8 receptions, 116 yards today. It was good to see JJ bounce back after the Chicago performance where it wasn't all great, but he broke 100 yards today.
Yeah, and again, there were, I think, 4 passes that Kirk Cousins and him wish they could have back. The in-cutting route where Justin Jefferson probably should have settled in because it was zone. He kept running. Kirk threw it to his back shoulder. The deep route where he ran a stutter go, Kirk Cousins overthrows him, and Justin Jefferson signals, hey, he taps his shoulder. Throw it back shoulder. Give me a chance one-on-one versus Jalen Ramsey. And I've said that all season. Anytime Justin Jefferson has one-on-one coverage, you throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. I don't care. You throw it up, you give him a chance, because a 50-50 ball with him and any DB becomes an 80-20 ball because of his violent ability to go up with his hands and catch the ball.
Yeah, he was really looking forward to going one-on-one against Jalen Ramsey. Being able to get 100 yards is great. I'm sure he wished he would have reached the end zone against Ramsey a little bit, though.
Yeah, look at the pass that Kirk threw against the Packers with Justin Jefferson back shoulder to kind of ice the game. That's the same play. Kirk's got to do it every time, and for some reason early in this game, Kirk Cousins wasn't in it. Him and the receivers seemed like they weren't really on the right page, or the play calling wasn't on the right page. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, that's something the coaches and the players go back, they'll watch film, and Keenan McCardell will explain what happened.
Sure.
But it's just one of those things where you have to move on to the next.
Yeah, moving on to the next. Adam Thielen, he left the game with, I guess, aggravating his injury he already has on his ankle, so he was questionable for the game. And this offense playing without its best running back in Dalvin Cook, who made it on the COVID-19 list this past week. So with his absence and the play of that Rams front seven, I mean, that really, or at least the Rams pass rush, that really kind of lived up to the hype, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and Ben Lieber brought it up that you have to use Aaron Donald and Von Miller's speed against them. And it was almost like they had it, but there were plays where, like Kene Nwangwu, he had a screen where he rushed it, got wide too soon. Linebacker was able to get out before before the lineman can get over there. I think it was Bradbury. Couldn't get over there in time. So that's the things that they'll look back on film again, and it's missed opportunities. What could we have done better to win these games? There was a chance where Dalvin Cook bounced it against the Steelers for a touchdown. I thought Kene had the same opportunity today, and he forced it inside.
And we'll check out this highlight from Alexander Madison.
Yeah, and you're going to see here, this just lead zone. And watch C.J. Ham. I mean, he leads him through. He follows it, so he widens, and then he cuts off the second window, which that's why that linebacker was out of place. He assumed he was going to go with the fullback, and he cut off the second window. You see C.J. Ham lead. He takes the second window. Linebacker's out of place, and that's a big run for him.
Yeah, C.J. Ham coming up big in that one, and then here we have Kene Nwangwu back there.
Yeah, and you'll see it. The kick out by the lineman is engaged, meaning you've always seen Dalvin Cook do this. Well, right here, he presses up against the butt of the fullback and bounces it outside and uses speed. Kene does the jump cut, but he does the jump cut so far inside, it allows the flow of the defensive lineman to come get him. So they'll watch film and they'll look back and say, hey, these are the opportunities we'll have next time, and you have to make it. But with his speed, you get him on the outside the same way you get Dalvin Cook on the outside. It's probably not a touchdown because there was a receiver out there lead blocking. He might get tackled by the DB, but that would have been tackled 15, 20 yards down the field. But again, with his speed, who knows? It might have been an open field home run.
Let's take a look at Kirk Cousins' stats for the day. Kirk breaking, he's over 300 records today, yards today. He was 27 of 38, one touchdown and an interception. You know, we see a lot of this type of performance out of there from Kirk week in and week out. But for me this week, I feel like there were still a lot of plays there left out there that should have, could have, would have.
Yeah, that's why I hate stats like that, because people are going to go back and say Kirk Cousins threw for 300 yards. You can't blame it on him. You can. You can look at the early plays that weren't made and why they were put in that position. Now, again, we've seen those first scripted 15 that have worked all season. Today, they did not. So that's just going to have to go back to the drawing board. And again, you have the Packers in Green Bay. It's going to be freezing cold most likely. So they're going to have to hope Dalvin Cook is back, because you're going to need to run the game in that weather.
Yes, speaking of, according to 538, which is a good source for any playoff picture info, have the Vikings' playoff chances decreasing to 12% with the loss, which that's rough. But as you have mentioned, a win against the Packers would be huge for the playoff picture. So going to Lambeau, primetime game Sunday night, obviously it's going to be cold. What do you see going on down there?
Well, hopefully the plane lands, because last time they did that, I think they were stuck on the runway for hours because something happened. But I do see them having a chance to beat the Packers. This is a team that they can beat anybody and they can lose to anybody, and they've shown that. I mean, the Packers are the number one team in the NFC, and they dominated them at home. And then you go on the road and you lose to the Lions and so on and so forth. So it's whoever shows up is ready to play. And again, that guy right there, 33, hopefully he's back. And then hopefully Kirk Cousins is back on the same page with Justin Jefferson, because today they didn't seem to have it. Now, I think the one factor is going to be that guy right there, Adam Thielen, in the cold. That ankle, if it gets tight and sore early, it's tough to come back when it's cold outside. It's like playing outside and you stub your toe or hit your finger on ice. You're done for the day. Like, you don't even want to play anymore in the snow. So hopefully it's not too cold, but Adam Thielen's got to find a way to keep that leg warm.
Yes, a week of practice, a week of getting into the film room and being as prepared as you can possibly be to face the NFC North top team, I guess you could say at this point.
And most likely maybe the number 1 seed for the playoffs.
Rough. Well, you may have a rough go, though. The KFAN fan line is open. Give Ron a call. He's headed there right now to answer your phone calls. Thank you so much to Go for Great, Ron Johnson, for joining us today for all your insight. Have fun with that. We will leave you on that note. For now, though, we are going to head back to U.S. Bank Stadium as we kick it out to Gabe Henderson and the guys for Between the Lines.
All right, thanks, Tatum. I got PA to my right, Ben Lieber to my left, and the Vikings 7-8 didn't finish the year off with the win. We controlled pretty much everything except for the time of possession and the final scoreboard. Ben, your thoughts on today?
Well, the final score is the only thing that matters,
exactly.
Right? Once again, I'm disappointed in the way that we tried to stop the run. I mean, our rush defense all year long has been atrocious, and we get pushed around. And the most disappointing part of it is this is basically a backup offensive line for the Los Angeles Rams. And you're telling me that our starters at this point in time in the season can't beat their guys more consistently. And they were out-quicking us off the snap. They were capturing our outside arm. Our defensive ends were getting pushed by. They were getting washed all the way across the line of scrimmage and out to the sidelines. And so, it makes it really hard in the second and third level of defense when the gaps widen and the gaps get so big and they can just get downhill.
The LA Rams had 8 runs of 7 or more yards. Clearly a key to success for them, especially with a guy like Matt Stafford, who tried his best efforts to give us the ball whenever he could today, PA.
First time he'd thrown at least 3 interceptions since 2018. Like Ben said, they ran the ball better than us. They won the line of scrimmage. You get a punt return touchdown when you have all the momentum on your side and the building is loud. That just kind of pricked the proverbial metaphorical balloon, and we went down 2 scores again. Too much to overcome.
Too much to overcome. We got 2 more games to try to overcome and try to make some kind of playoff push. We don't control our own destiny, but Ben, how do we do that next Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, man. Defensively, you got to play much better third down defense. They were 50% on third down. You can't give up a 37-yarder on 3rd and 6. Towards the end of the game when you got to have a play where McKenzie falls on the ground with Cooper Kupp. Offensively, you can't be 2 of 12 on 3rd down. Mm-hmm. So we got to win the money downs. You got to win the critical plays. You got to stop the run, and then we have to run the ball better. I mean, I know it's just being hypothetical here, but you wonder what this game would look like if Dalvin Cook was in there. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't on the sideline due to COVID, if he could get downhill, do everything that he does against this defense. We had some seams. We had some creases. Alexander Mattison did the best he could, but Dalvin Cook would have made a difference. So, again, we have to win the line of scrimmage, and hopefully we win the game next week.
Yeah, for sure. You got plays that you missed, that you left out there on the field, and going into this game, you couldn't leave those plays out in the field. 4 plays, red zone interception, missed interception, fumble, and then unlikely. There should have been a fumble right there on our sideline. But PA, final thoughts moving forward.
Well, playing Green Bay, the Vikings have beaten the Packers 2 consecutive times. They won at Lambeau last year. They can absolutely beat Green Bay, whether we're 7-8 or not. Dalvin hopefully checks out next Sunday and is able to play in the game. And Aaron Rodgers has a ton of respect for Mike Zimmer. So some would say that Zim's in his head a little bit. We'll find out. But from 7-8, it's the mellow has been harshed a little bit with 2 to go. Let's go win at Lambeau and at least smile, if only for a day.
Well, one person that's probably smiling probably a few weeks from now is JJ. He passed OBJ for the most receiving yards in the first 2 years of his NFL career. Tatum, back to you. I know it's your LSU alum, so back to you. Hopefully that's some good news for you guys back in the studio.
All right. Thanks, guys, especially to the birthday boy, Gabe Henderson. Happy birthday, Gabe. I know you wish things would have turned out a little bit differently, but we do have the Packers next week. Let's take a look, though, around the NFC North. The Lions fall on the road at the Falcons this afternoon, 20-16. And the Bears are currently in action against the Seahawks, and they already have a 7-0 lead on Chicago right now. So the Vikings now in the NFC North standings. Nothing much really changes. The Vikings still in that second place spot at 7-8, the Green Bay Packers at 12-3, and obviously that is the tall task up next. The Vikings hit the road on Sunday for primetime game against the division rival Green Bay Packers, and that'll happen, as I said, primetime, 7:20 kick on January 2nd. So crazy to say this, but we will see you guys in the new year. Hope you have a great week. Hope you had a great Christmas celebrating with your family. Thank you so much for tuning into Vikings Postgame Live. I'm Tatum Everett, and we'll see you in 2022.